How's it going on, everybody? Welcome to the Gatos on Ice podcast, a brand new show here at the 5 Reasons Sports Network that's going to be covering the Florida Panthers, or as I better like to call them, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Now, I think it's pretty clear that after a pair of titles here in South Florida, I think they're definitely worthy of some coverage. So that's why this show starting 5 Reasons does amazing content for pretty much all aspects of South Florida sports. You have the Dolphins coverage, Marlins coverage, Heat coverage, the University of Miami, and FIU and FAU. It's called the Shulable Podcast. You might find me in it. But yes, I am Jake Gibson. I'm very happy to host this show for you all. This is still a work in progress, even as we're getting things ready to go here. We might get another host or two to join in. I mean, there's so much interest in the Florida Panthers these last few years that, people have been clamoring for more Panthers content, regardless of how you get it. I know the social media teams at Florida have really been ramping up their stuff for Panthers coverage, and I hope we get to do the same here at the 5 Reasons Sports Network. So shout out to Ethan for helping set this all up, and I just can't wait to provide more coverage for you all as we get closer and closer to opening night here at the Amerant Bank Arena as the Panthers take on the Chicago Blackhawks. Now to the 5 Reasons Sports Network sickos that follow all their content, which, I mean, shout out to you all. Like I said earlier, you might recognize me from the Shulable podcast where myself and Kevin Barral and Kevin Fielder cover both the FIU Panthers and the FAU Owls. I have been going to Florida Panthers games for a long time now. I'm in my mid-20s, and I've been going since the arena was called. The Bank Atlantic Center, the BB&T Center, the FLA Live Arena. That was a few weird years when it comes to the name of this arena, wasn't it? And of course, now being Amerant Bank, it's been awesome. And some of you might even recognize me from my time at Lemon City Live, which, yes, I still do content there. The host of the Pause Up podcast, the official fan podcast of FI Athletics. I was wondering when I'd finally get the chance to plug that in. I guess it happened to be right now. But as a matter of fact, alongside FIU Athletics, one of my first opportunities at Lemon City Live was actually being able to cover the Florida Panthers. It was actually one of my first gigs out of college was covering the Florida Panthers for Lemon City Live. And I just got to say thank you to Gus and Edwin over at that outlet for giving me the opportunity to get my hands dirty, actually getting credentialed for games. It was actually limited access the first season I began covering the Panthers, and it became all access where I got to go to the press boxes and then speak with players and coaches post-game. It was just an awesome experience, and I already loved the Florida Panthers before being able to do that, but just being that much more into it, if you will, it really made me fall in love with them even more. And they won the championship a couple of times during that time as well. So yeah, big shout out to Lemon City Live for making that happen. And talk about luck. I got to say, my first season covering the Cats was, when they went to the Stanley Cup final. They had one of their best seasons in franchise history, lost to the Vegas Golden Knights, of course, but I think we all know what happened after that. So it's been an absolutely unbelievable time. And now I get to provide content to you here at the 5 Reasons Sports Network, while also sticking with Lemon City Live for FIU content and maybe even a little bit of NASCAR at Homestead Miami Speedway. I kind of live close by to the track. You feel me? But I think that's enough of an origin story. I mean, we all love a good origin story, but if you're a Panthers fan, one thing you definitely like to be living in is the present. I mean, my gosh, what this team has been able to do these last couple of years is amazing. And to say that a professional South Florida sports team has an amazing opportunity to go for a three-peat, I think it's something absolutely ridiculous, something I never would have imagined, but it's here. And it can happen, and we're less than a week from now at this point to finding out if it actually can happen. What I mean by that is, so much has happened since this show began this offseason. It's been kind of a crazy one. You can take away the celebrations. You can take away all the ceremonies. You can take away so many other things. By the way, where are those championship rings for the Panthers? I have yet to see those. But the moves this team has been able to make has been nothing short of spectacular as far as trying to keep your core talent here to actually go for that three-peat. We've seen championship teams before kind of implode in a way where you get hit with the championship tax. And yes, I say tax. NHL fans of the other 31 teams look away now. But yes, I am bringing up tax in a Florida Panthers show. But seriously, so many players sign with other teams because they develop their talents. People see how good they are in the postseason and feel like if they can do it then they'll probably work for us for the entire season just to get us to the playoffs. That's pretty much how the championship tax works. It's not really just for hockey, it's for any sport in particular. And that was actually the case for the Florida Panthers originally from the 2022 to 23 season. You had guys like Brandon Montour, the Stahl brothers, Radko Gudas, Anthony Duclair ship out because of what you were able to see from them in the postseason and go, wow, all these teams wanted them to sort of replicate that in the regular season. So the Panthers were hit with that already entering their first Stanley Cup championship run, right? Maybe I should say second. I mean first as in, well, they actually won the damn thing. But what Bill Zito, general manager, yes, I met him in person in Orlando. Maybe that's a story for another day. But Bill Zito has been able to retain so much of the most important pieces that made this roster work from last season to now that if you look at the line combinations projected for a Tuesday night's game against Chicago, it is actually kind of ridiculous how similar this team looks all around, with the exception of a few key missing players. But it wasn't because of free agency, I'll tell you that much. I mean, take a look at the talent all around that is returning for the Florida Panthers from last season. I want to highlight some big names such as Sam Bennett. Conn Smythe winner. No big deal. Brad Marchand, who we signed midway through last season and got him to stay once again. And just looking down the line here at some of the other players that made such an impact. I mean, Ekblad, I hope he retires as a Panther, and it looks like he has the contract to do it. That's because they re-signed everyone they had to, that they absolutely had to make sure that this is still a dynasty-worthy team, and they were actually able to do it. Now, how did they do it? Well, the 31 NHL teams will be happy to say tax is involved. And if you're a Northeastern team, maybe some palm trees here and there as well. But it's just that they have taken deals that definitely seem like low balls if you were to compare them to get signed to teams from all over the other side of the NHL. For example, Sam Bennett, he could have signed for pretty much anywhere he wanted and gotten near double what he's actually earning here in Florida, but he elected to stay because you want to talk about Heat culture. I think Panthers culture is in a world of its own right now with this hockey team. And it makes me really proud to say that because I have seen it. You see the camaraderie with the players and the coaches, not just in the post-game pressers, which again, I've been fortunate enough to witness at times, but just the way these guys celebrated winning the Stanley Cup, how passionate they were about bringing the players back. They actually did that and they wanted to stay. So they took significant pay cuts just to make that happen, to keep this group together and to ensure that the Florida Panthers are the most likely team to begin a so-called dynasty in the NHL more than any other team in hockey. And that is absolutely unbelievable. So the roster is there as far as keeping players from walking over to other teams. Now, obviously, there's been another issue with this Florida Panthers squad that it was something that, unfortunately, money couldn't fix. Or maybe it could have? No, I don't think it could have. It's the injury bug. Unfortunately, the Florida Panthers were fortunate enough to not sustain major injuries during the postseason runs these last couple of years. Nothing that shook up the roster compared to some of the other players for other teams that had time out because of injuries in those crucial runs. Well, maybe this is that tax that the other NHL teams are talking about. Maybe this is what they mean. Yeah, so Alexander Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk, the two biggest faces of the team, are going to miss some exceptional time. Tkachuk is slated to be out until maybe December or so with just patching up all the things that were wrong with him during this final postseason run, which, I mean, Paul Maurice himself said it, there were a lot, but they played through it just to get that Stanley Cup. Hockey players, everyone. They're that incredible. And when it comes to Alexander Barkov, I mean, it's just about everything. ACL, MCL, they had immediate surgery, though successful. And yeah, he's going to be out maybe 7 to 9 months. Or is he? Because if you ask the head coach of the Miami Heat, Eric Spoelstra, yeah, Barkov just kind of happened to be at Heat practice. Why not? He's got nothing to do. He said he'd probably be back in 5 to 6 months, which sounds a little ridiculous, but I mean, Alexander Barkov has been injured so many times in his career and has always come back ahead of what he was projected to miss as far as time off the ice, that I genuinely wouldn't be shocked if it was just 5 months. So let's say that, okay, Tkachuk and Barkov, that it's the best case scenarios for both of them and they can get back here as soon as possible. Well, that's around the midway point of the season. It's going to be next year, probably. In Tkachuk's case, maybe December. But you're going to have the two biggest names on your team back as you start to make a playoff push. Without those guys, I don't know if we're getting first place in the Atlantic. With those guys, I still don't know if we'll be getting first place in the Atlantic. Not that it even matters as far as a championship run. The Panthers have proven that at home or on the road, they can make the best of a situation in the postseason. But you'll have those guys back, ready to go, and you may even have a couple of new faces here and there, depending on how aggressive the Panthers want to be with signing new talent during the midway point of the season, right before free agency winds up. And I mean, do you blame them? It certainly worked for them to pass Brand Marchand. So all in all, your team is likely going to be loaded once again. And when I say your team, I do mean the Florida Panthers. They're going to be stacked, regardless of if Barkov is 100% good to go. And I'm just assuming Tkachuk will be back by the time the postseason starts, because why wouldn't he? He lives and breathes for this moment, aside from maybe appearing at the University of Miami on College Game Day. Maybe he lives and breathes for that too. But one thing is for sure, this cat loves playoff hockey. Now, who do you bring in to sort of cover what Barkov's able to do? Well, maybe nobody. It's going to be basically based on how this team does in these next few months to decide, okay, we're going to need to bring in some talent for the long haul. Because, well, if there's one thing that's really guided the Florida Panthers to near dynasty status, it's depth. The depth of the Florida Panthers is something that is absolutely outrageous in the eyes of the rest of the National Hockey League. It's something that no other team, I think, can really replicate on when it comes to most positions. And you have the guys to fill in for Barkov and even Tkachuk at this very moment. It's just a matter of, can they do it? I think they're certainly in a system to do it. However, even that's getting hit with the reality check as of late. What I mean by that is Anton Lundell was expected to take a big leap in ice time with the injury to Barkov. And, well, even that is now in jeopardy as he suffered an upper body injury in Thursday's preseason game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's going to be reevaluated as soon as possible. We'll figure out if he's going to be good to go for opening night, but that is already a major loss that's going to put a lot of question marks in who will take that next step to sort of replicate what Barkov can do. I mean, we have enough Finns to do that. We certainly do, but Lundy was going to be the big guy. So we'll figure out if he's going to be good to go. I think he will, but we'll see. And as soon as I recorded that, I double-checked just to make sure about Lundell's status. He's going to be day-to-day, but in all likelihood, Maurice does think hopefully he'll be good to go when the season actually kicks off against the Chicago Blackhawks. Side note, are the Florida Panthers a dynasty already? I mean, back-to-back Eastern Conference championships and 2 Stanley Cup championships in a row. I consider that to be a dynasty, especially if you want to talk about just the Eastern Conference in the National Hockey League. Can you believe I'm actually saying this as to the Florida Panthers fans who have been here for a while? These discussions about if the Panthers are a dynasty or not already is something that's kind of bewildering to those. And I'm no exception. I kind of can't believe it either. Some other things to point out now, because again, this is sort of a welcome to the show kind of episode, not the biggest dissection of what's going on with this team right now, but some other takeaways here is the status of Tomas Nosek, who, also had surgery, lower body injury. It's either upper body or lower body with the Florida Panthers, nothing else. He's going to miss a few months as well. He was part of that fourth line of doom that stopped a bunch of defenses or offenses on their tracks. He's going to miss some time too, but it's okay. Like I said, we have depth for that, right? And then not to mention you have Sergei Bobrovsky, everyone's favorite Panther, regardless of if they say it or not. The brick wall in the crease, if you will. He's going to be good to go in the final year of his contract here with the Florida Panthers. He's going to need to get a new payday after the season. So you really want to hope that he makes the most out of his time here in this final year, supposedly. And based on the small sample size we've seen in these preseason games, he looks good to go. He looks just like the brick wall that he's been during these postseason runs, even at the young age of 36. years old. I think he will definitely have another good year ahead of him. And I guess something else we can briefly talk about are some of the other, what do you say, events, activities. These are going to be more than activities to the players, but some really special things that are happening in this season's this NHL season. Starting off with, of course, the Olympics that are going to see a lot of NHL stars take the ice to represent their teams. Now, the status of Barkov being in Team Finland is definitely going to be a concern, but we'll see what happens here. We'll see how that pans out, and you can expect a lot of Panthers, regardless of nation, to take some time off the ice at the Amerant Bank Arena and go on a global tour. Now, hopefully, we do a little bit better with not suffering any injuries than what we did last season with the Four Nations face-off and the injury that Matthew Tkachuk took. And then, of course, the other thing, the Winter Classic at Lone Depot Park. I definitely had to highlight that just to see the Panthers on a national stage do something that they've never done before, which was compete in a Winter Classic at Lone Depot Park, of all places, against a familiar opponent in the New York Rangers. The Snowbirds will be there, unfortunately, but they can't destroy what should be an amazing atmosphere over there at Little Havana. I'm really curious to see the jerseys that the Florida Panthers put out for that Winter Classic. I am a fan of brand identity, and the Winter Classic always produces amazing throwback-esque sweaters that the teams wear, and I can't wait to see what they do for Florida. They got to bring back the Leaping Panther, right? You have to bring back the Leaping Panther. By the way, I'm not the only guy covering the Florida Panthers here at the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I want to give a shout out here real quick to Alex Baumgartner. He's always in person at the Amerant Bank Arena, puts out fantastic articles almost weekly at this point, and it's going to be daily once the season kicks off, covering the Florida Panthers. He's been doing this for a hot minute now. Definitely be sure to follow him on social media at @Baumgartner91. You will definitely not be disappointed with the work he's going to put out if you don't know already. And I guess if you just wanted any indication that the Florida Panthers are back, if you will, it was also in that preseason game last night against the Tampa Bay Lightning, because I guess the NHL just kind of forgot to tell them that this was a preseason game, and you saw over 100 penalty minutes combined between both squads and some fines already being handed out. AJ Greer, what did you do? I think Alex himself said it best. If you missed playoff hockey, it's happening right now, or maybe last night over in Tampa. So yeah, I'll definitely say that's the we're back moment of this episode as we get ready for this matchup against Chicago. Speaking of which, let's actually take a look at the schedule for the Florida Panthers, at least for the month of October, to kind of just see what we're working with here. Like I said, Tuesday, October the 7th is when it all kicks off. 5 o'clock over on ESPN. You can catch Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks head to town. And then after that, it's just a bunch of great matchups. Philadelphia and Ottawa also heading to the Ice Bank here in Sunrise. Then you go on a road trip, which, I mean, it's another Northeast road trip. What really do you want me to say? At Boston, though. At Boston, Tuesday, October the 21st. Marchand makes his return to the TD Garden, 7:30. Of course, it's going to be nationally televised. You're not going to want to miss that. And then, of course, you take on Vegas. I feel like taking Vegas is always a fun activity for the Florida Panthers following that Cup loss. They always put up great matchups against the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights themselves are expected to make a deep push in the playoffs, maybe actually hit the Stanley Cup final once again. So it's going to be 2023 all over. We'll get our first look at the Knights on Saturday, October the 25th. And they close up October taking on the Anaheim Ducks at 7 o'clock on Tuesday. That's pretty cool, I guess. Not going to look too far ahead, but yeah, that's pretty much the slate for October here for the Florida Panthers. Some great matchups to open up the season. I'm not going to say they're throwing Connor Bedard out to pasture with this opening night matchup. Maybe it's going to be a great game, but I do feel confident already that the Florida Panthers will get the job done there. Speaking of that game against the Chicago Blackhawks, we're still kind of figuring out content-wise what we can do here with the Gatos on Ice podcast. I'm certainly down to do some live reactions as these games happen for you all, just to kind of get a feel on how the game's going in case you can't watch or you want someone else to listen to. I know it is a nationally televised broadcast. Maybe you're not a fan of those crews. We can tune in together. It should be super fun, but that's TBA. So I'll let you guys know. As far as new videos go, I'll certainly try to have one more out before the opening night game, just to sort of, again, take a deep dive into the current roster, new additions, the cuts that we actually did have to make, and what this projected lineup will actually look like and my thoughts on that. One thing I will tell you, though, Sergei Bobrovsky, Sergei Bobrovsky. He is still going to be an absolute threat between the pipes, and I cannot wait to see what he's going to do this season as the whole team goes for that three-peat. Who will step up? Who will be the Florida Panthers hero in the wake of no Barkov and no Tkachuk? Well, I can't really give you an amazing answer right now. That's for the video ahead because, one big reason, like I said before, you see the amount of talent on this team. How can I just pick one guy? There's going to have to be some multiple selection on who will be the biggest playmakers for the Florida Panthers this upcoming season in the wake of these Barkov and Tkachuk interviews. We'll have to figure it out when the time gets there, okay? But I think that's pretty much going to be it for now. You've been seeing this little scroller here at the bottom. Definitely be sure to follow my accounts on all social media platforms at Jake the MC. And I already gave a shout out to Alex Baumgartner, but definitely also be sure to follow the 5 Reasons Sports Network as well, because, I mean, what they're able to put out for just South Florida sports in general, let alone the Florida Panthers and what we have planned in store, it's going to be something absolutely extreme. So at 5, that's the number 5, Reasons Sports, and definitely be sure to check out their work, especially because it's not just me that's gearing up for a season. It's the 5 on the Floor podcast gearing up for another Miami Heat adventure as they look to do a little bit better than last season, I guess. And last but not least, a big shout out once again to Ethan for helping set this all up together. So if you want to follow him, it's at Ethan J. Skolnick. He's the head honcho here at 5 Reasons, and by God, he is absolutely amazing. He says he's the host of the best podcast, 5 on the Floor. And you know what? If you've been following that podcast for as long as I have, and pretty much everyone else who's even a bona fide Miami Heat fan, then yeah, I have to agree. But hopefully I'd like to make a dent in that claim as we get going here towards the season. So thank you all so much for spending some time tonight, checking out what I have to say. I hope you like the little editing here and there, cutting off some things here and there. Got to say, I was inspired by some of the biggest hockey producers as far as content goes. And yeah, it's still an absolute dream to be doing this for the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And I can't wait to see how this show evolves as the season goes on. But before that, just I know there's something you all can watch that I highly recommend. It's going to be the Stanley Cup final sort of run back by ESPN. If you have ESPN Plus, be sure to check it out. I believe it's already on there. That's going to be a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go there and watch it right after this. So thank you all so much, and please have a great rest of the night. Keep on getting excited for the Florida Panthers, because I know there are a few teams to be excited for here in the South Florida sports region. The Miami Hurricanes, I mean, gosh, they could win the Natty for all we know. But the Florida Panthers could be doing something absolutely historic here in the South Florida area, which is go for 3 championships in a row. This whole area of Florida has fallen in love with hockey more than ever before, and for good reason, because they have a team that is capable of doing amazing things, even more than they already have already. So definitely get excited for opening night, and hopefully get excited for more Gatos on Ice coverage. Thank you all.